I will read the appeal statement. Pursuant to the provisions of 2.68.030 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, please take notice that decisions of the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County Community Review Board may be appealed to the Chancery Court of Davidson County for review under a common law writ. Any appeal must be filed within 60 days after entry of a final decision by the board. Any person or other entity considering an appeal should consult with an attorney to ensure that time and procedural requirements are met. And we do have a quorum.
We do.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, we do. All right. We will now have the approval of minutes.
Move the minutes be approved.
All right.
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. Okay. I'll now move on to the chair remarks. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here for our final Community Review Board meeting of the year. As we begin tonight's meeting, I want to take a moment to reflect on the incredible work we have accomplished together over the past year. It has been a year of progress, challenges, and most importantly, impact. This year, we achieved several key milestones that underscore our commitment to transparency, accountability, and integrity. One of our most significant accomplishments was the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding with the Metro Nashville Police Department. This MOU provides the framework for collaboration and oversight, ensuring that the CRB has the tools needed to fulfill its mandate effectively. We also took a bold and necessary step by adopting a zero-tolerance sexual misconduct policy. This policy reflects our steadfast commitment to supporting survivors and creating systems of accountability. It was heartening to see this work amplified and supported by the Women's Caucus of the Metro Council, which passed a resolution underscoring its importance. In addition, we made the critical decision to recommend and secure a third-party investigation into the 61-page complaint containing over 40 allegations against MNPD. This action underscores our dedication to impartiality and thoroughness in addressing concerns raised by the community. It sends a clear message that this board prioritizes justice and accountability above all else. These successes would not have been possible without the dedication of so many. I want to extend my deepest gratitude to the community members who have entrusted us with your voices and your stories. You are at the heart of our work. To the CRB staff, thank you for your unwavering support, expertise, and commitment to ensuring that the work of this board is carried out with professionalism and integrity. And to my fellow board members, I am profoundly grateful for your passion, hard work, and willingness to tackle complex issues head on. As I share these reflections, I also want to make an important announcement. After much thought and consideration, I have decided not to seek a nomination for the chair position for the upcoming year. While this decision was not made lightly, I am confident that the CRB is in a strong position to continue its vital work under new leadership. I know that the collective talent, dedication, and vision within this board will carry our mission forward. It has been an honor to serve as your chairperson. Together, we have made significant strides towards ensuring accountability and building trust within our community. The work we've accomplished over the past 20 months together, such as working diligently to reconstitute the COB to the CRB, reestablishing every position that was eliminated under the COB to the CRB, and gaining outside counsel, to name a few, were huge gains for police accountability and transparency in Nashville. While I will not be seeking reappointment as chair, the commitment to the principles of transparency, accountability, and integrity remains unwavering. Let us use tonight's meeting as an opportunity to celebrate our accomplishments, address our ongoing work, and look ahead to the possibilities of the coming year. Thank you all for your dedication and partnership in this important work. Let's get started. We'll now have public comments. I will read our public comment statement. Pursuant to TCA 8-44-1, a period of public comment is reserved to provide the public with the opportunity to comment on matters that are germane to the items on the agenda. Each speaker is allowed up to 2 minutes to speak. Speakers may register in advance by signing up on the public comment sheet located at the entrance to the meeting room. Do we have anyone signed up for public comment? We do not. All right. We will now move on to our executive director's report. Director Fitchard.
Good evening. I'm going to start with welcoming our new board members. We have Attorney Heather Michelle and Attorney Walter Searcy. So thank you all for your willingness to serve on this board. Appreciate it. A former attorney, okay. All right, thank you so much for being here and your willingness to serve on this board. My remarks will be short. So we have a board nominations tonight. We discussed in the executive committee meeting that there was a amendment to the bylaws that was required because it actually had the date from a previous CRB. And so we need to get with Mr. Clark and make that change from June 1st to, is it going to be October 31st? October the 27th for the election of officers, okay? And I'll just move right into the complaint process. I've been working with OPA Commander Jason Starling. We've had some communication about setting up the working procedures related to the citizens' complaints. The complaints that we received this month were 5 citizen complaints, no police accommodations. We had 0 dispositions this month. The records update is that now we're receiving our records at an average of 3 to 4 days, which is slightly faster than previous times. We still have it seems to be still a long wait for the body worn camera footage. I think that there was a request that went in and we received the information back for an extension. And I think it was extended to February and then a second one extended to April. So those are things that we're going to have to follow up on that happened earlier this week. And so I'm going to give them a call in regards to that. In addition to that, we received some body worn camera footage that was completely, the whole entire thing was redacted, where it was all pixelated. It was very hard to see what the complainant might have been saying to the officer as well. So I need to follow up on that as well to see why that pixelation and redaction is happening, especially because it falls outside of what the appendix is, which is that it wasn't a juvenile involved. There wasn't a sexual assault victim. There may have been something on their handheld that may have been, some confidential information, but only that should have been redacted, not the whole person's facial and body. So I am going to follow up with that. And that's pretty much all that I have in regards to that. For the zero tolerance sexual misconduct policy advisory report, we have that as a board discussion, so I'll reserve that. The budget, the committee will meet in January 2025, and Chair Haddock is over that, the chair of that, and so we will have a meeting scheduled and coming up. And so I'll save the rest of that conversation so the board can chime in on that. And we've been really busy with community outreach and trying to engage with the public. And so that information where we served meals with Thanksgiving meals with Royal Table, participated in toy giveaways. This week I'm doing the gift of reading with the Thomas Edison Elementary School. We have a blanket drive happening currently. And then we'll talk a little bit as we go on. With January the 20th is the MLK annual march. I would hope that you all could come out and help us. There's also they're making signs, and I'll give you that schedule so that you all can participate if you want. That will happen January the 20th of 2025. And then, of course, we are still working on some research items. I'm going to reserve the other resolution information for a board discussion. We have some compliance monitor training that happened today, and it'll finish up tomorrow. The fundamentals of compliance investigations, it's been really rich, and I appreciate that. I also wanted to make many of you don't know Miss Kim Neal, but she was someone who worked closely with me in a mentorship capacity. She passed away today. She had been with NACO, our national organization, for a very long time. She was the police monitor in Arlington, Virginia. Alexandria, Virginia, as well as she had been in Fort Worth, Texas, and had done a lot of work in the community oversight arena. And so I send my thoughts and prayers to her family. And it's pretty much all for the report. I did want to say since this is the last meeting of the year, we are thankful for the opportunity to continue to serve the Nashville community and work alongside the board, community members, public safety stakeholders and partners, as well as the mayor's administration, to do this important work for our city. I want to take a moment to thank Chair Haddock for the work that she's done alongside of us and leading many charges, and we're very grateful for your perseverance in taking in and stepping in, especially last year when we had this preemption thing come down without a real clear plan on how we were going to execute that. And so I want to thank you for your service. I appreciate you. I'm sure my team thanks you and appreciates you as well. We look forward to our pathway in 2025. We are energized, we're optimistic, and aspire to maximize every opportunity and make our city a welcoming and safe place for all people, no matter where you reside, no matter where you work, where you play, to ensure that justice is the beacon of light that shines brighter each day. So thank you all. I'll take any questions.
Can I get a motion to accept the director's report?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
A second.
Okay. Any discussion? I have a question. So you talked about a long wait for the body worn camera footage, and then that you received this week. So the date was moved, and I know in our MOU, it states that they have to send you an email stating why they need, the time to be extended for whatever reason. What was that reason? And then second question is, the video that they sent and the entire video was pixelated. Without any of the reasons we've agreed that it would be redacted. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, I don't know yet, because that happened. Although the body worn camera was pixelated, it was requested prior to the MOU, like a few days before the MOU. But so I don't know, I've got to check on that. As for the date of the extension, it was for the same reasoning that they have to go in and do the redactions. So I just think that there's this intersection of, things that have been requested. Maybe the MOU information hasn't gotten over to the IT
Investigator.
department,
Oh.
and they've had a discussion. I think that's why Commander Starling is wanting, to sit down and try to work out these kinks. But I do want, I'm still, even with the body worn camera footage, the date, I think that can be worked out. As for the pixelation, I don't know what the reasoning is. That's why I need to make the call. I just found that out today.
Okay.
And so once I find that out, I'll let the board members know, because what I was told was that, it was an extensive amount of redaction in that particular body worn camera footage.
Okay. Member Brown.
I noticed that we don't have any resolutions for approval. I know we're trying to cut down the backlog, but is there a particular issue we don't have any for this meeting?
Yeah, we have some in the queue ready to go, but I made the decision that since we had new people here and we haven't had any training, as well as we needed to get a process and we don't have one specifically on the recommendations and what happens and so I just decided that we would start those up next month, and you would and probably call a special meeting to get us some, because I think that we can't do 4 or 5 in this meeting, and we'll have 4 or 5 ready. I also we had talked a little bit with Mr. Clark about streamlining that process so that we don't spend a lot of time in a meeting covering, because if I go through all the findings of facts like we did, it would take up the whole meeting. So we need to probably call a special meeting for next month.
Okay, well, I'm just concerned that we're not cutting the backlog.
We're going to cut the backlog.
Okay, well, hopefully then we'll be able to get some next meeting, because
We'll get some next meeting.
I think that's a serious failing that we're not getting those to the board for voting.
I totally understand.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Member Holloway.
I'm sorry. Is it possible that these cases you got prepared in a way you can send them out where we can do a briefing on them and then be prepared for the meeting come up in January and make a phone? At least we'll be familiar with the material before the meeting.
I don't think that we can do a briefing on them before the meeting. I can send you the documents just like we had done previously so that you have an opportunity to review them. And that's another thing. Like, we also have to make notification to the police department, set a time frame on when the officer knows that those cases are coming, ahead of time. We haven't done that yet for that, so that they also understand what their process is. Previously, we made the notification process within 10 days. 10 days, I think and then we changed it, I think, to 5 days. And so I'd like to go back to that so that the notification process is happening, where officers know that their case is coming up. And also that the police department knows that this case is going to be coming up for resolution. And so I would more than likely get those cases to you within that same time frame, so that you have opportunity to come to the office to review any information that you want to see related to the case.
All right. Member Brown.
One thing I might suggest is, as I recall our last meeting, we had 3 and all of them were basically very short and recommendation of, in effect, no further action. But, if we have those, we can certainly handle more than 3. And I would think where it's going to be particularly a no finding of fault in effect, that we should get those to us so we can clean them out and let the people know where we are. Because as I say, I'm just disappointed we don't have any.
Okay, understood. I think what we have to do is think about how we're going to clear a backlog of that many cases. And so, presenting older cases along a track with new cases at the same time is how we think that we'll be able to clear that backlog out. So we present a few new ones as well as, multiple older ones. I think calling a special meeting for those cases that have been lingering the longest is probably going to be the best route forward.
Mm-hmm. And so, Member Brown, we discussed this at length as it pertains to the cases on this last meeting, having our 2 new board members who would be joining us, and also speaking with Mr. Clark in terms of streamlining the process in how we present the cases. I think it was important for us to do these things before we brought any more cases, especially with this new MOU. And so it sounds like we still may have some discussions to have with Commander Starling as it relates to receiving the body-worn camera footage, as well as making notification that there will be delays in them, since the delays are significant. If we're talking about, we had already discussed a 180-day delay in September, and so now we've gotten to the end of December, and we're still discussing long delays.
And I think that those long delays, so that's true. That's absolutely right. What's happened is the MOU came out. These were already requests from previous. So they're going to have to go back, and we're going to have to probably send them a list of all of these cases that we requested body-worn camera footage and say, can you put these on an expedited route or something. When I talked to Commander Starling, he understood that there was this gap between what was happening prior to the MOU to now that we have the MOU, and that they're trying to work alongside of us to get that fixed. And so, of course, I haven't sent him the list as of yet, because that just happened. We just found that out a few days ago, last week at the end of the week. So I'm going to get that together with the compliance monitors and see which cases that they have body-worn camera that it still has a significant date. For that one, when compliance monitor received it, I think that was on Friday they received that back, which, said that they needed an additional extension, which was a significant, and I said it's a significant amount of time we need to check into this. So that's what we have to do to kind of catch up where this gap is from having an MOU now to, to before not having one.
So why did they say, other than redactions, is there any other reason that it would take months to provide the body-worn camera footage?
Manpower. They don't have, but from the last I heard, they only had 2 people in that department. And it's, it's our request alongside, I guess, every other request.
But in our MOU, we would
Yes.
not have to go to the back of the line.
That's
or
correct.
what have you. So there is that gap in cases that were already being worked and where we are now with the MOU.
Right, I agree with that, and I just need to be clear, I need to just get some clarity from them specifically. I would really like to just talk to who's running that department, to see if they have a clear understanding of, and I also understand, how they are going to move us up the line. I mean, I need some clarity on that, so.
Any additional questions or comments? Okay. All in favor for accepting Executive Director Fitcher's Executive Director's report, please say aye. Aye. All right. So we have an approved Director's report for the month of December. We'll move now to board discussions. The first on the agenda is Sexual Misconduct Policy Update. Director Fitcher.
Sorry, the last thing that I heard about the sexual misconduct policy update was that it was going to, we were going to have some response from Metro Human Resources. The director, Shannon Hall, had said that in January they would be finished with their review. They've had multiple reviews. They've had it since September. And I think that it was adopted September the 17th. And so the next thing is that in September, it is supposed to, we are supposed to have some information on what the next steps are. My hope is that the next step is implementation. And so we won't know that until the top of January is what I was heard from the council member of the Women's Caucus, the chair. And so I am going to follow back up with Ms. Hall the first week back, after the holiday. to find out where they are with that process, because it has been several months.
So we approved it in September, right? It was accepted as a resolution by the council in September, and it was given to Shannon Hall in September. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and so we'll now give her to, I think everyone agreed that she has until January 2025 to complete her assessment. At least that's what she has stated she would like until January
That's correct.
2025. Okay.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Member
Yeah.
Wetzel?
Is that something that we're going to know by the next meeting?
You should.
Yeah, because our next meeting is January, I think, the 27th or 28th. So, yeah, we should definitely have a response on what the implementation process looks like. Because there's two things happening here. Either they're looking at it for implementation for citywide, and I think that's what they were reviewing with city, to determine whether or not it went alongside their HR, rules and regulations, as well as the civil service. But if they don't get it implemented citywide, we specifically need them to implement it for the Metro Police Department. And so that's what we'll be checking in on the first part of January.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Holloway?
Question, you said the next meeting is 27th or the 28th, and I thought we discussed at the board meeting probably in the 13th. That's fine with me, but I don't want two different things going out at town. Make sure we get it correct today. Do we say it would be the 13th, some doing it before the holiday or what? But if that's convenient for everyone, then that's fine with me. I just want to be clear.
So Member Holloway, you're saying that we had discussed it being earlier in January?
At the board meeting?
Uh-huh.
Executive board meeting.
Oh, the executive committee meeting?
Oh, are you talking about okay.
Yeah,
The
that's
executive
something
committee
different.
meeting, yeah, it's going to be earlier. It's the week of the 13th.
Okay.
Yeah, but the regular board meeting is on the 27th.
All right, we're clear.
Okay.
All right. Okay. If there's nothing else, we will move on to 2025 CRB initiatives, goals, and meetings. Now, I put this on the agenda because we had discussed previously, and I know, Joe, you discussed a little bit about this last week at the executive committee meeting, as it pertains to initiatives, goals, meetings for the CRB that would be new. And so what I would like is for our board members to submit suggestions for initiatives for the CRB as we begin to shape the events and goals and meetings that we have for 2025. And I want to give you all an example. Something new that we could potentially take up as the CRB would be providing a progress report for MENPD and possibly doing this on an annual basis as it pertains to their data and against best practice policies and procedures nationally, and shaping this progress report so it would be digestible for Nashville residents. And so that's just a suggestion of something that we could potentially look at for 2025 that could be instituted on an annual basis. Something like increasing public awareness of review and oversight efforts through town halls, partnerships, and then partnering with local organizations. Those are the type of initiatives, ideas, goals, meetings that we would like your input about. So that is basically what the 2025 initiatives, goals, and meetings is pertaining to. And it's really asking you all for your feedback. We want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to voice what they think could potentially help push the CRB forward. And that is through the initiatives and goals. And like I said, creative ideas or innovative ideas are what we're asking for, so we can connect greater and make a greater impact in Nashville. So that is what that's pertaining to. Think about it, stew over it over the holidays, and I'm hoping in January, at the January meeting, we'll be able to take up some of those initiatives and goals and discuss them. Okay. Member Wetzel.
Is there something that we can put out to the community through social media or something? Maybe, I don't know if this is like a survey or just maybe, I think what could help inform that conversation is having some community feedback, asking them what do they want from us? What do they want to see as well?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea. And so however we are able to do that, probably with Ms. Robinson, Ms. Cash, she can help us to get our information out there. But this is for us to be in the spaces that we occupy as well. So where we are, we can solicit that feedback, talk to our community members in these spaces. Member Witzel, I know you are one of those folk who's around people and in the community, and so even though we will put this in the hands of our staff, and then hopefully we can all come together, I still want us to talk about these things in our respective spaces, right? Because that's our community as well. So we can talk about that. I know we had asked a group of community members a couple of months ago what they thought was important and some initiatives and things that they had on their radar. And so we'll continue that conversation. And we want to make sure that it's full and it's engaging and that we don't want to miss anything that could push us forward and push transparency and accountability forward. We want to be right on our hands on the pulse of accountability and transparency. Director Fisher, you have anything?
No, I mean, I like that idea. I think that each of you have your perspective, community members and constituency that could provide some information if you wanted to do that at your own meetings and things of that nature. I think that we have talked, you and I have talked about some initiatives and goals that we want to do for probably midsummer. That probably the best time for that, or early spring for some public meetings, some town hall meetings and things of that nature. And then we had partnered with the Human Relations Commission early, I think it was in 2021. And I've sent that initiative and that feedback and that information that we did, because we also did a community report. And so that information I've already sent to our lead research analyst, Ansley Potter, and Ms. Cash to review that and use that kind of as the premise for our next meeting. And hopefully we can do that early spring.
Right.
Something in that vein. I can share some of that information with you as well. But that is, so we also have those initiatives already, kind of like what we were going to do department-wide, but
Right.
it would definitely would be helpful to have the board involved in those things.
All right. Any additional comments or questions? Member Cersei?
Yes.
Hit your button on the here. It's red. When you hit it, it'll light up red. On your right.
With the person, the one with the person.
There you go.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Now, when we're talking survey, are we talking about a data-driven scientific instrument that will be designed by professionals who do surveys? And if so, then
that's one kind of study. And we also, prior to that, however, need to get some ideas to what it is that we need to know in terms of going forward. I see at least a couple of political scientists in here now
We do.
who would conceivably be interested in participating in something like that. But there would also have to be a budget
Correct.
generated to, or something consistent with the current adopted budget. And, that kind of thing excites me because there's a lot of chatter. There's a lot of social media. There's very little science behind a lot of the things we believe or choose not to believe. And I think that this process, more so than many others we may engage in, must be data-driven. It can't be on the BS tip, as they might say in the community.
All right, thank you, Member Cersei. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. And so I think at this point, as we are really discussing those big issues, then we would bring in someone to break that or give us the data to analyze it. It could probably turn into a research report, like whatever this thing is, right? But this first portion of what I'm asking for is mainly just a community engagement activity where we are engaging with community members on what they think, right, is something that's important to them, and the board members as well. So it could have been something that we've discussed, I don't know, 6 months ago. If it's something that's really important to a certain community or population, we want to know about it, and then we'll get to the research portion of it. Dr. Risby.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
What I wanted to mention in response to Mr. Cersei is we do have research analysts on board. We have a team that is, I believe, confident and, capable of doing and collecting data where we would have information that would be data-driven. This is something that they do in their daily jobs. They collect research, they enter data, they're familiar with the statistical reports and such. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Risby. Any additional comments or questions? All right. Resolution for officer-involved shootings. Attorney Clark.
Thank you very much. So this is something that we are looking at in a way to utilize the full capacity of the board's mandate while also staying within the limitations imposed by the law and by the MOU, because thinking about it pragmatically, just about every officer-involved shooting is likely to fall into one of the statutory exceptions right away because of the open investigation, because of pending litigation or threats of litigation. So in order to identify and capture whatever unaccessed portion of that authority that we have involves looking at how we can sort of define the reports as they come in, the critical incidents as they're defined in Section 12 of the MOU. And so over the next week, we will have some proposed drafts for the board to review and just contemplate what you think is best, and we'll be able to craft those proposals in a way that both complies with the restrictions and also, capitalizes on the authority that the board does have. So that's where we're at on the resolution.
Okay, and so understanding where we are in terms of the legislation that was passed by the state, as it pertains to open investigations and us having access to information as the previous COB did. What do you think is I know you've looked at some of this preliminarily as your proposed drafts. Could you give us an example of what one of the drafts could be?
Well, it's sort of a 3-page document. I know we had looked at some different drafts for
That's right.
resolutions that have been made for like renaming a soccer stadium, but here it's a bit more complex, and we want to both reiterate the definitions from the MOU
That's right.
and from the statute, and the fertile ground, I suppose, for additional board action could be in shoring up how we define reports to the board that cause an issue to come within the jurisdiction for investigation. And that section 12 for a critical incident report that we're already able to access, that we need to ensure that we have a streamlined process that's in place with the Department of Emergency Communication. So establishing that streamlined process, getting something in writing with the Department of Emergency Communication, and then also at the same time crafting a resolution that allows us to define reports in a way that capture critical incidents as they come in would be optimal for allowing the board to immediately have the full extent of its jurisdiction under the law. And that's what we're looking at. And like I said, I expect to have some proposals to you
Within the week.
over this week, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any questions or comments? Thank you,
Very
Member
good.
Cersei.
Attorney-client privilege for later.
Once we see the drafts, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Next is our FY25 budget discussion. Do you have anything, Director Fitcher?
No, nothing, not anything else to add to what you guys have already received. And I think that once we schedule a meeting, then we can, keep the board well informed. But that meeting probably needs to happen early January because they're going to start the process in January. Like it's already pretty much started, but we'll have to upload our information in February. So we need to meet with whoever we need to meet, whoever, I don't remember who's on the committee. I just know that you're the chair of it, but is there?
Yes,
is
I
there-
think we had we have a list.
Okay.
And so we'll get the list of
Yeah.
members who are on the committee. I will say, have they, have the council and budget officers, have they requested a date that these things need to be submitted? I know typically we'll have a date in early February, a date in late February.
No, they haven't done that. If it's similar to since we have the same chair over the budget for the council.
Right.
I'm assuming it's going to be the same way that it was last year, and that is Councilmember Porterfield, who's the chair of that.
Right.
When she usually sends out some information, and if once the mayor puts his budget in to determine whether or not we want to advocate for ourselves in front of in front of the full whoever's on the committee, and we have that opportunity just like they did last year. And so they haven't sent out anything. The only person that sent out something was they were doing some. Councilmember Toombs, who was a part of a study. And that was very specific towards, the Human Resources Department. And so we sent over the information that they requested as they were asking about positions mostly. Everything that they were asking about was FTEs.
Okay.
They were trying to determine, something related to pay grades, pay and positions. And so we did that. They wanted that information with a pretty short turnaround, and we got that to them. I think that was last Thursday.
Okay.
But I haven't heard anything else from the big budget committee, or the mayor's administration yet.
Okay. Member Brown, thank you.
Director Pritchard, I saw you sent out the budget process and for this year, and I appreciate getting it, and looked it over. I didn't see anything there that we were having any problems with, but from your review of it, obviously, do you anticipate any problems with our current budget? It didn't look like there were any.
No, if what you were looking at with those are actuals, remember, everything that I give you is probably gonna be a month behind. And so where you see those variances, especially the ones at the very bottom, was, one of them is, we have a 4% fund. And then we also have what you call credit card clearance. And so they would take that monies and put it out of the right object codes that, whatever we're using for incidentals, whatever we use our credit cards for, subscriptions and things of that nature, that stuff would be put in. So the budget is going well. We have some expenditures that we want to get done so that we are, for the next, we're in the second quarter, so for the third and fourth quarter. So I think we're looking good.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Holloway.
I had talked with you at an earlier meeting about 2 additional employees for investigation.
Yes,
that
sir.
on there?
Yeah, we would definitely need some assistance with these backlog cases, Sue. I mean, it's, I think that we had asked for that amount of employees last year and an executive assistant. Was it an executive assistant? Yeah, and two compliance monitors. And so I think that, that's something that we definitely still want to look at. That would definitely help us get these cases done in a more proficient and effective way.
Yes, like I said before, if you don't ask for it, you won't get it. So you ask for 2, you may get 1.
And I think that thank you. And I think that we should be on parity with the OPA. I mean, if the OPA has 10 employees, doing investigations, I think that we should at least have, if not that many, as close to it as possible.
In terms of the budget and how we look at it, and really what we have seen across the country as it pertains to civilian review boards, community review boards, law enforcement review boards, and its budget, where it is typically, or you can find some that it is 1% of the police department's budget. And so if we're looking at maybe around a $350 million budget, somewhere around there, 350 million, 400 million, then we would be looking at a $3.5 million budget for the CRB.
Yeah, that's correct. And what it typically, and then what typically is, we also want, and we can do that ourselves, look at the numbers. And I think that we've provided that to you over the years past, but we can also do that this year too, and look at how many officers there is,
That's right.
total, and then determine the amount of personnel that we need to be able to address the complaint process. Because if you have, I think right now, if you have 2,100 officers, let's just say they have 1,500 officers, then, one compliance monitor has 12 or 15 or 20 or 50 employees, that's a lot of employees. And so we want to kind of make certain that those numbers are matching with what's happening across the nation.
Right.
And so we can provide that to you.
Okay, good. And I think this would be a really good time to put into place and work with our local government as it pertains to the budget and how we calculate and how we look at this in terms of best practices across the city and those who are aligning their budget with their police department and the number of officers that they have, but then also that their budget, right?
Yeah.
$350 million, $400 million, is a lot of, money. And so we want to make sure that if our police department is well, staffed and, they have the tools that they need, then the, review entity or oversight entity does as well. So let's make sure that we get that information so we can present it along with any other information we want to present to the budget chair of the council.
Okay.
Any additional questions? Okay. Board training? Director Fitcher?
All right, give me 1 second. So as I said in the executive committee meeting, I had reached out to Mr. Atkinson. And just so that you know, he has requested a meeting with the police department. Mr. Atkinson is the lead conciliation specialist with the United States Department of Justice Community Relations Service, so CRS. And we met with him. He came up here and met with us. This is not his first time being here. He had been here before when Jacquees Clemens was killed. And so he came back and met with us, and he has a meeting scheduled with the police department. The chief was not going to be available. It's next week, I believe, Monday. And so, well, when I reached out to him to just ask him about the trainings, he referred me back to the CRS. And I looked on that website. I didn't see any specific trainings that would be really helpful to the board right away. But we are looking at trainings. And I did find some that were virtual, but I'll get that information to you all to see if you're interested in doing those. I also checked on training within Metro just to determine whether or not, hold on, here we go. Just to determine if we were up to date on the trainings that are required. So the message that I received was that at this time, members only have to complete the diversity, inclusion, and sexual harassment prevention training one time, unless they are also a Metro employee. But right now, we don't have any members who are Metro employees. And it said that Mr. Searcy had completed the training at another time prior to joining the CRB, so he's not required to take that. And I have the dates when you all took the trainings and completed it. Judge Brown took it 5/26/21. Alicia Haddock 10/20/2022. Do you guys remember taking that training? Oh, okay. All right. And then Walter Holloway took it for 8/21. And Mr. Searcy took it in 05. So, and then Sean Witzel took it 5/26/21. And so the only person that's required to take it is member Michelle. So I'll get you that information. What she said was that the training was, hold on 1 second. The next date is scheduled for February.
Okay.
Okay, so then I will get you in that class and send you the information, member Michelle. Also, the next training for new members would be the Citizens Police Academy. And once we get that information, I'll send that out to you. There's usually one in the spring and one in the fall.
That's right.
And I think I can't remember if there's a stipulation that you have to take it within the first 6 months, so that you would need to register for the spring. Now, I will tell you that in the MOU that there was this opportunity for board members to be able to ask for some trainings from the police department. And so I was going to pick some out and see if you guys were interested. And as I said before, there was a couple that I thought was really relevant to this work, and that was the traffic stops. It was sort of like a role playing. It was in an evening, and you kind of, Mr. Holloway was there. I don't think anybody else would have been on the board because it was early 2019 that we did that. And we went through a whole role playing, and I think we did another training at the police academy for de-escalation training. And so I think that those are relevant. We can come up with some new ones as well. I can ask them for their recruit training information and see if there's anything there that you might be interested in. And then we can pick from there.
Okay. All right, Member Brown.
One thing that I know we have and that's available for all the members, they've indicated that members can request a ride-along at any time. And I've done 3 and found them very interesting to watch the nitty-gritty of a 8-hour shift.
I think that anytime you want to do a ride-along, and I think
can.
we should be doing ride-alongs, because I can't cover them all, but if you are doing one in North, and you're doing one in the Hermitage Precinct, and you're doing one out South, and bring that information back, and we have discussions about it, it would be good.
All right. So you'll keep us abreast on trainings, and then present us with a list for MMPD trainings, so we can take a look at it. We did make a decision or wanted to put in front of the board to have a couple of trainings throughout 2025. At least one that includes diversity and not the diversity and inclusion from Metro, but another one outside of that, to keep us abreast on what's happening in that space, maybe trauma informed, and then something related to law enforcement. So once we get that list, we'll make a decision on what trainings are relevant to us and then decide on which ones we'll take as a board.
And then don't forget that we also need to plan our retreat. I think we had it later this year, so
We
if you want to
did.
do it within
Earlier.
another fiscal year, like we could do it early, like in June, opposed to, I think, did we do it in August?
It was in August.
Yeah, so if we do it in June, it's still probably July after this fiscal year, since we already had one in this one.
Yes.
But do it like the first part of July instead of later in the summer. Or we can just move it up, it just depends. But we need to start preparing on that too.
Yeah.
On the trainers who we need to have there. And if you
That's
guys
right.
have any suggestions, that would be good. I will tell you that one of the initiatives for the internal functions of the board is to have, monthly trainings for our board staff. And so I want to, I want to make certain that, if we're having trainings and they're not, I think that you all could come to those monthly staff meeting trainings if you want, because we're trying to have outside professionals. And then another training that Chair Haddock and I talked about was a training that dealt with procedural justice and getting
Yes.
some people who are experts in that to come and do not only a training for the board, but a community training on procedural justice. And so that's one of the initiatives that we have for 2025.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Member Holloway?
May I suggest, I've asked this before when we had an attorney sitting in on our meeting, to set up a meeting where we would go over the law, and so she can explain to us what the law really means, We determine one way, but their laws determine another way. All we was getting from her, you can't do this, you're not supposed to do this, and you're not supposed to do that, If we are on the same page, looking at the same material, then there's no excuse. Because if we're making a mistake now, it's not our fault, because we definitely asked her to make a civil session for that. So during that retreat, if that can be done.
I can do it.
Thank you, Attorney Clark.
Are we talking about I missed a piece. Are we talking about the state law? Or are we talking about the law block for the police department that they're training them on?
The state law
The state-
that got us a chokehold on us.
This is true. Okay, so Attorney Clark, you will take care of that for us. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Member Witzel.
Yeah, just putting this out there. I'm a part of a cohort called Transform Tennessee. It's a transformative justice cohort, and we did a 3-year-long training. But we do these transformative justice 101s. They're just short. I can't remember how long they are, but they're just a couple of hours that I think would be something that could be beneficial to the board. We've done them virtually, but I think that can also be something that we can do in person. I don't know if that's for the retreat or just some other type of training throughout the year, but I just wanted to put that out there. I think that's something that could serve the board as well as staff really well.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you, Member Wood, so that's good. So Transform Tennessee? Okay, and you all have transformative justice, trainings. Do you have restorative justice trainings as well?
Our focus is TJ's transformative justice, but, I mean, we definitely discuss like, the kind of the similarities and the differences between the two.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Director Fitch, you have that information?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else, we will move to our board nominations and elections. Member Holloway.
You still have the right to nominate someone from the floor. And then after that, we will take a vote on each category as it comes along. And so the first one is the board chairman. Yes.
Mr. Holloway, you're conducting this election.
Yes.
Were there other nominees other than myself for chair?
Did not receive any, but we still have people if they want to make a nomination from the floor at this time, they can.
You have mine.
So as we have Walter Searcy's name is already on the ballot, and if anybody have a person they want to nominate from the floor at this time, they can.
I like to nominate, let me have my paper back, thank you. All right, I would like to nominate for board chairperson Walter Holloway.
I accept.
Do we stop there?
I accept. Are there any more nominations from the floor? I believe we'll just take a vote from those said two names.
No, we're going to take a vote on one name. One Walter is enough. I withdraw. I withdraw from the candidacy. And instead, move that we select Walter Holloway as chairman by acclamation.
Okay, as you have heard, Walter Searcy withdrew his name, and I will vote for myself. That would give me the credit to be a candidate for the chair.
All right.
All right, for vice chair, we already have Joe Brown. Are there any nomination from the floor for first vice chair?
Yeah, it's got a typo, it says second, but it's
Okay.
first.
That's, okay.
Mine says first.
Okay, in the nomination? Okay, if there's not none, Judge Brown, you can vote yourself in, one vote there.
Well, so voted.
All right, Judge Joe Brown is the first vice chairperson. Okay, we have the second vice chairperson, and we didn't have anybody submit any information to me on that. So what we'll have to do right now is make a nomination from the floor. Is there a nomination for second vice chair?
I have a nomination.
Okay, what is that nomination?
I would like to nominate Walter Searcy.
Okay, Walter Searcy. Okay, is there other nomination? Okay, Walter, you had the right to vote for yourself, and that would confirm your position.
Let the record reflect my vote in the affirmative for Walter, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, for secretary, I didn't receive anything for secretary,
No.
so
No,
we will give a nomination from the floor. Okay, Ms. Heather.
All right, I'd like to nominate Heather Michelle.
Heather Michelle, you accept?
Sure, yes.
Okay, are there any other nomination? Okay, we will close with, you do?
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'm drawing a blank. I beg your pardon. Mark Wynn,
Oh, yes.
Okay, Mark Wynn.
nominate.
As secretary?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We will have the vote, start first, Ms. Heather. Anybody, for Ms. Heather, raise your pad here so I can do a count. Okay, we got 3. Okay. Those are for Mark Wynn, raise your pad. You can't vote for him, you can't vote but once. You didn't vote? I thought you had your pad. Excuse me, let's get this right now. I thought you had your pad up. Okay, now. For Miss Heather, show your pad for Miss Heather. Okay. You got 1, 2, 3. Okay, I ain't blind. Okay, now for Mark Wynn, let's see your pad. Okay, you got 2. So, Ms. Heather, you are our secretary. And I appreciate everybody's cooperation. We are small in number, but, the legislators didn't do us any good. We had 11 people at first when we first started out at the COB, and we cut us down to 7. So it's just like a family thing that we got to work together to do the work for the community. And I appreciate everybody working with me tonight. And this is a good start. We will move forward in 2025. And hopefully that we will have more response from the people from the community to assist us and letting us know what they would like to find out what's going on, if there's anything that's bothering them, or anything they have a complaint. And we're for you. You voted for us when we were here to serve you. Thank you.
Okay. And so now we have chair-elect Walter Holloway. We have first vice as Joe Brown, member Joe Brown. Second vice, Walter Searcy, and secretary Heather Michelle. All right. We'll now move on to new business and announcements. Do we have any new business and announcements?
I have just
Member Brown.
a question. I thought from the executive committee, we were going to have a resolution to change the bylaws. Did I misinterpret that?
I'm not sure.
Our legal counsel was going to have a resolution on the change of the date for the election of officers.
It's my understanding we
Yes.
already passed the resolution the amendment, it was an amendment to the resolution. And if I'm correct, we passed that, and right after the last meeting, I sent out the correction.
I must have missed it. If it's done, then great.
Okay, if it's not done, somebody else let me know.
For that date?
It was the singular change that we made in the bylaws about that was requested by Metro Legal.
I'm unaware of that.
I don't remember us adopting it. I thought it was going to be drafted and presented, but I don't remember us voting on it.
No, I don't. Director Fitchard, did Metro Legal reach out and asked us to amend something?
No, I haven't heard from Metro Legal.
They have not, Dr. Risby.
You sent me something, didn't you?
I did, yes. It was concerning the scope of your authority. There was a flow chart that was not part
Okay, that's different.
of anything.
Yeah, that's different.
That didn't deal with elections, though.
Oh, no. It just dealt with the director's reporting structure within Metro government to line it up with every other department, basically.
Yeah, that I remember we did.
Okay.
But I thought
He's
we,
talking about the date. Remember that I just mentioned to you now.
Yes, okay, no, we don't have that.
We don't have that yet, but we'll have it for the next meeting. Or but we can have it ready for the executive committee meeting.
Sure, I can have it ready tomorrow if you want it tomorrow.
And are we talking about, in terms of the date, are we talking about moving what's in our, amending what's in the bylaws currently?
June.
What's the original date to the October date?
Yeah, what happened was, that was just the area that we missed. So the dates were in there for the nominations. We talked about that at the executive committee meeting. So apparently we skipped over or missed that date, and it has the old date, which was, because we were like, how did they get to June?
June.
And it was a 6-month thing, because the very first board of the COB had their elections for the first 6 months, because they were a brand new board. So they wanted an opportunity for everyone to get an opportunity to serve. And so that date just needs to be changed to reflect the CRB. It's left over from the COB, and it just needs to be updated.
June 1st to October 27th.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Which means that we should have those, and then we can figure out, like, with Mr. Holloway, like, how that nomination process
Right.
will look. Because remember, we're talking about getting new board members, having a new election of officers at the same time that we're losing, and board members are rolling off.
That's right.
So I don't know if we should have it that day. We should have it we should have it, probably November. Right?
You all tell me what day you want
Okay,
it.
we'll figure out the dates, yes, because if we do it, you understand what I'm saying? If people are rolling off October the 31st, we
27th.
can't also make elections
The
in
same
October.
time.
It's not gonna work.
And that's why I was thinking that we would have elections in December, and then they take their, office in
would,
January.
People come in October. If they don't get sworn into November.
That's right. That's right.
let me make a motion then. That we amend the bylaws to provide that the election for officers will take place on or before December 30 of each year.
That's a good.
So you just made a motion to
Amend the bylaws.
amend the bylaws to have nominations and elections before December 31st. And,
It's 31 days.
yes, it is. And then officers take their office in January.
Correct.
Okay.
Point of order.
Member Cersei.
Does your motion comport with the requirements of notice and other provisions in order to amend the bylaws of this commission?
Attorney Clark.
I'm not aware that there's a limitation on it, but if there is, then we need to follow it. I'm not aware of it.
I'm not aware of any limitation on the board's authority to amend the board's bylaws.
I don't think it's in there.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor to amend the bylaws to state that we'd have the election in December, and by December 31st, officers to take their offices in January 2020, in January of the next year. Can I have a second?
A second.
All right. Any discussion?
Yes, this will put us on line.
Member Holloway.
Excuse me. This will put us on the line because when new members come in on October 27th, they will have an opportunity to attend the first meeting in November, and they can let you know then whether they're interested. And then we got into December to have the election.
Member Witzel.
I can't remember how this works. So so do the new officers take their positions at just the top of January, or is it like the
meeting.
The meeting?
What was, I mean, I would think it would be at the top of January.
It would be at the top of January, because they've already accepted, and we're doing it in the December meeting, then it goes into effect at the end of, on the 31st,
Okay.
right?
Well,
Gotcha.
My only concern is
Actually,
if,
it should take effect at
the
the first
meeting?
board meeting in January.
yeah,
We need to
well,
be
they would have to
looking
have
at
an
Clark.
executive committee meeting, so they would be in that meeting in January too, wouldn't they? So it would be probably,
Let's say the 1st of January.
yeah, this first of January.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Member Brown.
But I just want to, I don't know if there should be some kind of caveat or something, just because what if the mayor is not able to fill the positions? would we still have, you see what I'm saying? Just like, for instance, you have to remember that people roll off October 31st, when he makes his selections. If in fact they are able to go through the process, like they didn't get selected until mid-November, then, but if he doesn't feel it, do we continue with the elections, or do we, is it?
Well, I would suggest that Judge Brown's proposal is about as flexible as the board could possibly
That's
get,
right.
because you have just total discretion to have the election as it is most appropriate to have sometime before December 30th. And I guess under this theoretical scenario, the board could then simply move and amend its bylaws as may be appropriate under the circumstances. And in response to the members' concern about notice and hearing, conduct of board meetings, the agenda shall provide sufficient notice concerning the order of business so that board members and the public are fully informed. We have elections on the
Yes.
docket today, so I think anything we wanted to do there is open season. And then, of course, within that, the board amending its own bylaws, I'm of the opinion it can do it at any time, so.
Okay. Member Cersei.
If this commission is governed by the same rules as all of the other mayoral appointees, then if the mayor does not appoint by a date certain, then the council has that option. Now, the query is that an option that we're confronted with in this commission? That does happen, though, in some other commissions. When a term, for whatever reason, comes to an end of the existing member, the mayor has a certain window of time to make a substitute appointment. And if she does not do that, then the council has a certain period of time within which they can do it. So we need to be wary of that.
What we have in the bylaw, when a person is rolling off and the mayor and them has not appointed anyone, the person rolling off can serve an additional 60 days. And that'll give them more leeway to select.
Well, that's
someone.
consistent with what happens in other boards and commissions.
That's right.
The 60-day window, yeah. Madam Chairperson, former Chairperson, who's still nevertheless chairing this meeting. I heard Mr. Clark use two references. One is we, the other is y'all. Now, obviously, Mr. Clark is not a voting member of this commission. So I think, and this is more an instruction for the secretary, that as the minutes are generated, it's great collegially. Mr. Clark sees us as we, but the minutes need to reflect when it's clearly a commission action and versus a staff action or an adjunct action taken by speaking on behalf of council. Anyway,
Thank you, Member Cersei.
I'm a parliamentary nerd, so.
Thank you. Thank
You'll
you for
find
that.
that
We
out.
need a
Yeah.
parliamentary nerd on the board. We're glad to have you. So, our new business, we still have a motion on the floor to amend the bylaws for our nominations and elections to happen in the month of December, by December 31st, and for officers to take positions in January of the following year. We had a motion and we had a second. If there's no further discussion? All in favor? All right.
Clean that up.
Any additional business, new business and announcements? Director Fisher, do you have anything?
No, I have one thing. Our office will be closed, the week of Christmas from the 23rd until the 27th, I believe. Is that this, when is that? Let me look. Next week, from the 23rd through the 27th.
Okay.
And then we'll have, staff in, but they can still leave, if there's a complaint, they can still leave it on, they can still submit it through our website,
Okay.
online complaint process and all of that. But there won't be anyone in the office.
Okay.
And then, but there will be staff in the office the following week, there'll be some staggered staff. It could be some people working remotely, but we'll still have availability.
Okay. And all that information will be on the socials and
Yes.
website? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Member Brown?
With our two new members, we do have paid free parking if you want to visit the headquarters, and need to get instructions, but it's a parking garage there, and you get a ticket and go upstairs and it's validated. And that's also available for members of the public, as I understand it.
That's correct.
So we're a lot more accessible than we were with Second Avenue disasters.
Definitely.
That's correct. That's correct.
Definitely. We are not on Second Avenue any longer. So other than the last announcement that I have is, we have a full board now. We are, Member Wynn is, on business, and so he could not make it tonight, but we do, have a full board for the Nashville Community Review Board, and I'm happy to see that. We welcome our two new members. And you are now full board participants. You can say what you want to say, and yes, Member Holloway, they can say what they want to say.
I didn't know that.
Yes. If you get to do it, they get to do it. So, but welcome, and this board has been through a lot over the last few years, but we have withstood a lot of fiery darts that were aimed at us. And we are still standing. And so this is a board that I am extremely proud of, but also we have worked extremely hard to preserve. And so thanks to the staff and their dedication to the community and our community that has committed to oversight and transparency, that's why we're still here today. So with that being said, welcome. Thank you for choosing to serve alongside us. If there's nothing else,
Move to adjourn.
I know you do. Can I have a second?
A second.
We are now adjourned. And we are having a reception, so please stay to celebrate the end of year at the Community Review Board.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.